So, is there anybody here for the public forum? Karen, are you here for a liquor license? Good. So that'll be after we get through some of the organizational work. So the first item of the agenda is the select board organizational meeting. I am here serving in the role of chair as the vice chair, as we no longer have a chair. I would open it up for nominations. There have been discussions among individuals. I'm expecting whether I want it or not, I may be nominated chair.
I would still nominate.
I would second.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, all in favor of electing Brian Shoup chair, say aye.
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 Congratulations.
Thank you. Are there any nominations for vice chair? I have one if nobody else does.
I would nominate Larissa Hirschbaum as
And I would
vice chair.
Second.
Oh, boy. I did not do what I said that I would do.
Oh, you need to be recording.
Yeah, wrong
Oops.
mouth.
Oopsies.
I'm not recording this. So.
You have to
But
the play button.
MRV TV's got us.
There you go.
Recording in progress.
Okay, just for the, we did open the meeting without recording it. We did make some small additions to the agenda. There was nobody here for the public forum, and the board just elected me as chair and Larissa as vice chair, for the record.
Did we actually? I think we.
No, we
need to vote.
I think there's been a nomination, but not a.
And it's been seconded. Are there any other nominations? If none, all in favor of electing Larissa, say aye.
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 All opposed? Great, thank you, Larissa. And anyhow, so second item is to consider adopting a meeting agenda. One thing I noticed is that our rules of procedure say that our meeting dates are the second and fourth Mondays of the month. So unless we want to change our rules of procedure, we'll just go ahead with that vote. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, we've occasionally made adjustments to that just based on holidays and stuff like that.
And
but-
I was going to ask whether we wanted to do that this month, because there are 5 Mondays in March. I'm not going to be here for any Monday in April, and I was wondering whether we might push this meeting back to the March 31st. I think you're out of town on the 24th.
Correct.
And then consider whether we only have one meeting in April, unless the workload requires us to have more.
I would like to see the town administrator work up a year.
Yeah, we should do a calendar year.
I was looking for it in
We've
this
done that,
packet and
yeah.
I didn't see it.
Yeah. And we also have a draft work plan that is kind of a companion to that we haven't gotten into yet, and I don't think we're going to get into it in any detail tonight.
This one.
Yeah. Which is outdated.
Neat.
I don't know, how do you folks feel about the meeting? And we could just stick with the 24th. I think I'd like to go to the 31st just because we'll have a better chance at a quorum. And then
I think 31st sounds great.
Works great for me. Be
That's
here.
fine. Yeah. This is 31st of March.
yes. And then we can decide before then how to handle April at that meeting.
Okay.
And could we have a draft for the rest of the year?
And we'll have that.
In our packet.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see any other changes in the near future, at least from my schedule. I'm going to be here all summer.
Right, but we can still get York to
Yes.
prepare a
Yeah.
full calendar for the
Yeah.
rest of the year
Yeah.
for the 3/31.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So the next item is to consider the designation of a newspaper or record. This is for our public notices and warnings.
Historically, it's been the Valley Reporter, and I would move that we continue with the Valley Reporter.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the next item is to review our rules of procedure. And I'd like to have York here. He did make some changes to the one that we filed in the past because the municipal ethics statute was passed, and that has mandated that we abide by the ethics policies developed by the state. So that took away the need for us to have our ethics policy as part of the rules of procedure. There were some inconsistencies. If there was anything in the in the ethics policy that we thought was lacking, we can go beyond it. At this point, I'd suggest we just go with the York's draft of the rules of procedure and sign that tonight. And as we all undergo the ethics training that's required by statute, we might want to revisit it at a later date as we become more familiar with it. But I'm open to suggestions. New York, we've gone through meeting schedule. We did change the next meeting to March 31st.
Okay.
We're going to make a decision about April at that time. We do want to put together a calendar for the year with the meeting dates, so folks we have done that in prior years. And we just started talking about the ethics policy. I'd be curious, you've done a lot of work on it and are more familiar with how the new state policy kind of relates to our old rules of procedure, which we no longer have, and you've taken out the ethics provisions of that and just cross-reference to the state policy, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially I took out the parts that were in the old one. Some parts were really broad. The new municipal code of ethics were more narrowly defined. Let me think. So yeah, anything that conflicted or was already stated in the municipal code of ethics, I got rid of and put it in the, and then just, got rid of that stuff, and then the new rules of procedures is what it is. And then also, I started drafting a new complaint policy, which can be a policy. It doesn't have to be an ordinance, but we can talk about that later. It's in the town administrator report. And then the conflict of interest form, well, that's also, we could talk about later, but that's all in the packet. But yes, in terms of the rule procedures, which is what we're talking about right now, the new one should be good. I had JB look at it, and he said he gave it an A+.
Yeah, and I didn't see anything that really changes our processes and procedures. So at the next meeting on the agenda will be that complaint form. That will be an online form for anybody who feels as though a local official has an ethics lapse. It's a process that they can formally complain about it.
And that goes straight to the state, correct? It goes over.
Either they can send it to the state, and we could talk about, and it's in tonight's packet. This should be good, the complaint form. As far as I could tell, it could go to the state, to the Ethics Commission, but they have no real power except to look at it and then send it back to the ethics liaison, which is me. And then we determine who wants to actually be the investigator. It doesn't have to be the ethics liaison. Actually, I don't really think it's supposed to be. I figure probably that would be me, unless the complaint's about me, and then the select board probably would choose someone. So this is theoretically ready to go up if you guys want to adopt it, unless you want to wait till next week, or 2 weeks.
Doesn't it need to go, do we need to make those decisions of a policy decision about who handles these complaints?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. You mean have it in
Yeah, just to be really
parallel
clear
with
Codified,
the
yeah.
policy.
Yeah.
That's fine, and I just started drafting that today.
Why don't we hold off?
And if anybody wants a copy of our current policy for complaints, let me know. I have it in the meeting packet for next time, but I can email it to you if you want to look at it.
So with regard to the rules of procedures, are we ready to act on that?
I just wanted to flag something which hasn't changed and I think makes sense, but in Article O, it's stating something we clarified a couple years ago, that we need 3 of us to have a quorum, right? 3 out of 5, but then the last one for a motion to pass has to have a majority of the board, so 3. If there's only 3 of us here, we have a quorum, but to pass anything, all 3, it has to be a unanimous vote. And I think that still makes sense.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never thought of it. But,
To pass anything, we need 3 of us, whether there's 3, 4, or 5 of us here.
I actually think that's in the municipal code of ethics, I think. It
Yeah.
may be confusing things, but I think in the state law, it actually says that also.
Okay.
I think it's good policy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise
Just-
2 people could vote for it and pass it.
Yeah, call a special meeting.
Yeah, that would not
And
be-
leave off a few.
That would not be considered ethical. And
Ted's out of town. Let's have a special meeting.
So anything else on the rules of procedure? We have a motion to adopt them?
I make a motion to adopt the rules and procedures as drafted.
One second.
Fred seconded. All in favor?
Aye. And I think,
and I have it in here for you guys to
does our
sign.
recorder actually get our note taker get the recordings or just the audio? Because I think Christine used to, if someone was on Zoom, she would just acknowledge Dave's vote.
Yeah, David voted yes, voted aye.
So-
And I'll actually point out if, in state law, if it's not unanimous and there's someone that's on Zoom, we need to do a roll
Roll
call.
call. Yeah.
So just for Carol, every vote so far has been unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this. So the work plan, it was a formatting issues going out. It's been corrected. It really is, it's outdated. We took a look at it, I think, last August or so, when we had an interim town administrator come on and kind of went through it and looked at what the short-term priorities are. Given we've got a number of people here tonight and haven't really had a chance to look at it, my suggestion is we do some homework between now and next meeting. Take a look at it, see if there's any priorities that no longer make sense or things that have been
Thank you.
hanging out there too long and we need to tend to, kind of, that should be a high priority, and we can have a more in-depth discussion about it then.
If I could real quickly,
Yeah?
we have a lot of high priorities.
I feel like there can be an additional access here, sort of, is it quickly achievable or is it something that's long-term, sort of short-term?
I was going to
versus
make the
long-term?
quick suggestion that of the high priorities, maybe individually, we rate them 1 through whatever
On our own.
on our own.
Okay.
We could discuss it next month.
So I think
This would
some
give
of the high
better
priorities
guidance.
have been met.
Yep.
Yeah.
You
This
know,
would give-
our budgeting process for the next town meeting, our work road crew, there's a number of them I think we feel good about, but
Okay.
there's also some that have come up that aren't on this worksheet that
So-
different members of the select board have mentioned.
So in this rating system, 1 to 4, 1 being the highest priority or the
Oh,
lowest?
I would go 1 through 10, or however many
Okay.
high priorities there are.
So we don't need to,
Yeah.
just whatever system for us.
Wait, you want the
Yes.
low number the high priority, the high number the high priority?
If there are 10 items marked high priority, rate them 1 through 10.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
So rank them in order of each other.
And I may send out, I know,
Wait,
go ahead.
One is the highest priority, is that right?
That you feel is the highest priority of all the high priorities.
Low score is the highest priority.
Okay.
When I would revisit the
There's 10
medium.
items.
the one that you do first
I would
is
probably
number
revisit
1.
the medium because it's been a few years.
Okay.
I mean, why
I
not?
would.
So
Yeah, I
in,
You see a medium and you're like, oh, that's.
You're going to be focused on the high priorities primarily.
So
You need guidance on which of all those high priorities
appreciate that.
has the highest priority.
so in short, we need to do homework before next time. It
Yes.
sounds like,
And I do believe that there is an updated version of this
yes.
that you don't have, because we didn't
Yeah.
have a town administrator, and I did it on my computer, and I was trying to find it before this meeting,
yeah,
so I
okay.
may send out another version of this, I
Okay.
likely will.
Sounds good.
Great. So that's our organizational meeting. We kick some things down the road, the work plan at the next meeting, and we'll finalize the ethics process and policy for complaints. And just again, a reminder, we adopted our rules of procedure. We in the past, we adopted an ethics policy. That's basically been adopted for us by the state under statute. So there's no need to take action on that unless we want to deviate from it in some way.
That's right, we can bolster it.
And when you were downstairs, I mentioned that as we get through the policy and we all go through the mandatory training, we might want to revisit it at that time to see
It's
if
a
it
great
works
idea.
for us.
Yeah. And this is, you guys will all sign that. That's the rules of procedure. Whenever you want.
So the next item on the agenda is the FY25 budget status report summary with Town Treasurer Steve Lewis.
Good evening, everybody.
Join us.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a memo from Steve in our packet.
And it was confusing as to, you were not the assistant.
So it was
Town
prepared
treasurer.
by Sandy
Okay.
with my help, but it
I
was
see.
officially done by her.
Okay, understood.
Well, good to see everybody. Just for the record, my name is Steve Lewis. I'm the town treasurer. So we're going to look at the FY25 Q2 budget summary report. So that would be ending 12/31/24. So at a high level, this report is really self-explanatory. There's really nothing too out of the ordinary here. I'll just run through. Do you want me to read it in full, or do you want me to just go over the highlights?
Yeah, I would be happy with the highlights.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds
Sandy
good
always
to me.
felt reading it in full was her approach, but I don't think it needs to be your approach.
Okay, so I'll just speak to this. So as I said, as of 12/31/24, the town had received 56 of the budgeted tax revenue for the year, and 43% of expenditures had been paid. So keep in mind, we're 50% of the way through the year as of 12/31. The revenue was coming in higher than anticipated for the first half of the year. The first two tax installments, 97% of the taxes were paid on time. $728,000 were paid in advance of when taxes are due for Q3. There were a few line items that were higher than the budget. Highway aid, $4,623, and the current use reimbursement, $25,362. So at a high level there, we're collecting revenues as we should, and expenses are lower than anticipated. Interest income, we've received 85% of what we had budgeted for. That's primarily driven by the fact that the town has two large CDs, one for 1.3 million, one for 1.5 million. And as everybody knows, the interest rates are favorable as they have been compared to previous years.
And at least one of those CDs is reserves that we don't anticipate spending, and
That's
the other
correct.
one is education funds that we will be.
That is correct. The 1.5 million are the reserve funds, and the 1.3 million is a short-term CD that matures in May. So speaking of expenditures, as I mentioned, expenditures are lower than anticipated. Some of this is driven by employment vacancies for town admin, treasurer, and whatnot, and also the road department. So we're slightly below budget there. We're fully staffed, which is a good thing for the town. We've incurred an additional $53,000 in July of /24 for road repairs due to flooding. And we anticipate reimbursement for that, most likely from the federal government. Fire department expenditures were running a little bit higher due to some truck repairs, labor, and the new Capital West Reserve Fund. All known things, but we're just running slightly ahead there. We talked a little bit about the CDs already. You have one CD, 1.3 million, maturing in May, and another 1.5 million, which are reserve funds. We're just basically static funds that we put in the CD to earn a higher rate. As far as loans are concerned, there are no new loans year-to-date in FY25 and no capital purchases. There is one grant that is current, well, there's multiple grants, but the one grant of note, we have spent $18,828 for the Irisville Planning Grant so far in FY25 on a grant of $44,000. So, in my opinion, there's really nothing out of the ordinary there, but I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have one question about capital purchases. On our agenda tonight is consideration of buying a pickup truck for the road crew.
Okay.
Are thinking, as we've talked about in the past, is that we would do that with unassigned fund balances.
Okay.
Does that create any cash flow concerns or issues for you?
I don't think so. So one thing that I did not mention here is as of end of FY, as of 12/31, we had about $320,000 in free cash. So I think that there is certainly money there in the unassigned. That's overall cash, but I don't think that will cause an issue.
And we have a May 15th tax due date.
Yes.
Yeah, and a CD that rolls over in May, so we can
Right.
change the amount of that if we wanted
Right.
to.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Related question, have we received any of the wastewater reimbursements?
We have not yet, no.
Requested?
As you know, JB has requested all of those. We haven't received the funds yet, though.
Got it.
How much is that?
I don't have the number off the top of my head. I want to say it's 100,000 or more.
I would
I
think.
think it was more than
I
that.
think it's
yeah.
more than that, yeah. I think it's closer to 2.
Yeah,
This is reimbursements for expenses we've already incurred.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is from at the state level, or okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
this
all
isn't
state.
federal money because I'm not counting on seeing any
No,
federal.
no
anytime
federal.
soon.
This is mainly clean water state revolving funds, and then
Okay.
our first invoice under the ARPA grant.
Which they have managed to somehow allocate to themselves and meet all of their
Yes.
federal requirements.
Yep. Yeah.
Who's they?
The Agency of Natural Resources.
Okay.
Yeah. Question, Steve, on the, I'm surprised the interest income isn't higher if we have, whatever, 2.8 million or something in CDs. I understand it's only half a year, but if those are at somewhere in the 4% range, I'm surprised those aren't generating even more.
Okay, I can certainly look into that. I know that historically, Sandy does not book the interest until the CD matures. Because she doesn't
yeah.
consider it cash in the bank, because you may withdraw early, incur penalties or whatnot.
So we might have a windfall of interest in May.
Yeah, there's definitely more than 1.5 million and 1.3 million. I do track that on a monthly basis, but we don't actually book the interest.
Yeah, that makes
That's
perfect
what-
sense. Great.
I think Sandy and I talked about that.
And can you just clarify, right at the beginning, it's the first line says, report for the general fund and the capital fund 2. What does the capital fund 2 distinction mean? Presumably that's all the
Those are the
capital accounts.
reserves, all the
So why is
reserves.
it capital fund 2? Does that mean there's a capital fund 1 that we,
I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to ask Sandy about that.
okay. Is that, it just seems
Yeah, I don't
weird.
know.
I'm assuming that's a report on all the capital accounts.
I'll add that Sandy's going to be here at the next meeting to go over the audit report.
Cool.
So, you know,
Okay.
Clarify it then.
Yeah, so we can get back to you on the couple questions.
Great. Awesome.
As something to just kind of put on the back burner of your consciousness, especially since we're going to be looking at the work plan next time. One of the things that we've discussed was trying to maybe streamline the reserve fund to make life a little bit less complicated for you guys. I don't know anything about what that looks like, but if you have any insights on that
Yeah,
for
thank
the
you for
future.
bringing that up. I mean, the
that-
town has a lot of funds, approximately 20, to track a lot of different things. And when you look at the trial balance or whatnot, there are many, many pages. So we've had some discussions with Jenna Alexander, who's the CPA that does the audit. And I've had some conversations with Sandy and some of you as well, just about simplifying that, because there's a lot of back and forth entries that are needed. And it's just a chance to make an error. I mean, this is caught in the audit, obviously, if anything does happen, but
And I also think
very
a shift from one reserve to another or a new reserve fund would require an act of the voters. So I was in here the other day talking to Steve and Sandy about just putting that on our calendar for next year's, for next town meeting. We might have an article or a series of articles on making those adjustments.
yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I think
Appreciate it.
at least a conversation on that front makes sense.
There's a couple of reserve funds that have a small amount of money, not an extremely clear purpose that we might want to, that date back and haven't been used for quite a while.
So yeah, if there are things that we can do that make it A, less likely that there's error that occurs, and B, easier for you to do your job. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think easier just to understand the overall financials for everybody.
I mean, I'll add that Steve is like very efficient. I mean, that's a very big compliment. Like, and so I think we can, he's good at advising of what may also work. As a select board, as we work through this, Steve has thought about this and really has some ideas, I think, of efficiency.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Any other questions? Dave, is it all good to you?
I'm listening and learning, yep. It sounds good to me.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
So the next item, the liquor license renewal for Mad River Exchange liquor license. This is the first renewal
First renewal.
And thanks for coming, Karen. Sorry we had a mix-up in our schedule last week, or last meeting.
Oh, wasn't your mix-up, it was mine. So I should be apologizing.
Well, we're all here tonight. So we have had as a policy, as long as I remember, that the first issuance of a permit of a liquor license, and then the subsequent two we require the permit holder to come before us just so we can check in to make sure. We have had some conversations whether maybe 3 years might not be necessary, that 2 would be okay, but I think we would stick with 2 just to make sure things have been implemented, there haven't been problems, there haven't been any complaints by the liquor controller or anything. But anyhow, Karen, could you explain, your holding is, you actually don't, you're not a retailer or a restaurant, this is really a catering permit? And we don't see the liquor licenses, the applications anymore, since it's all online.
Oh, okay.
We used to get a written copy of it, so.
When we originally did it, we applied for a restaurant liquor license because the idea was to bring in like pop-up restaurant chefs and stuff. In fact, the first one that did it for 2 months last year was Dino Bones, and they came in on Fridays, and that was going well, but then they decided they wanted to go the catering route and got their big truck and stuff and their food trucks. So we have not had a lot of luck finding somebody else to come in to do that type of thing. But in the meantime, we have been booking private events. So in that case, whoever's booking the event hires a caterer to come in and we run the bar. So food is always being provided. We also tried something with the food truck last September. It just wasn't generating the income that the person wanted. We thought about doing our own food, but we're not chefs. And I just don't know that we would be up for the work to provide food in order to have the bar open. So I think at this point, unless somebody kind of comes out of the woodwork and wants to do a pop-up restaurant, we're just going to continue with the event space business. Now, whether that requires getting a different kind of license, I'm not sure. I could take that up with the DLL.
So when folks do rent your space for a private event, they are not providing the bartenders, you are providing the bartenders. So the people that you employ are the ones who are taking the training and that you can.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And anybody who, like both my partner and I in the Mad Events business, were trained. We had a couple of backup people in case like we had a large party and had to bring in another person. But so far we've been able to manage just with ourselves.
Any problems or issues come up? Has it all been smooth?
Nope, it's been smooth as far as like the liquor license end of it, like, being able to generate enough business, to make this viable. We're still working on it, but, the health license, the liquor license, the taxes, like all of that is going smoothly.
And I know that you have an outdoor sort of patio space to the side. last time I was there, it was snowy, so I didn't anticipate people would be out there, but when the weather gets nicer, will you be sort of delineating where people need to sort of not take alcohol farther?
Well, last summer, we applied for and got an outside consumption permit. But yeah, and I think at some point around the same time, the DLL people just came by for a site visit, and so they made clear to us, like, where exactly on our property we would have to put up barriers and signs to make sure that people, like, stay in the backyard space.
'Cause as weather starts to get warmer, I'm, thinking of summer things.
Well, as Brian mentioned, we don't get a copy of your application. So where is your facility?
So it's 6163 Main Street. It's where the old El Pino Vino was. It's that building across from American Flatbread.
Oh, okay.
So it used to be a fiber mill
Yep,
space.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was, the wine bar, and, yeah, going way
Originally
back.
built as Norm's Restaurant.
It's a beautiful space.
Yeah, okay, gotcha, thank you.
And it sounds
Yeah,
like
so
you-
part of it's a commercial kitchen, but then the smaller part that was the wine bar is where we are doing the event space. And that's on the north side of the building.
It was two businesses at one time. There was the Purple Moon Pub and Easy Street Deli
Right,
in the bigger place.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So did you apply for a kind of first and third class license is probably what you had before for a restaurant and
Yes,
reapplied for the same thing?
because we don't anticipate any bookings until May, the DLL told me that I should just go through with this process and get the town approval. And then when we're ready to start, say, end of April, beginning of May, I go and actually pay for the licenses, and then they activate them. So
Got it.
that might still be a couple months off, but they said I should just get everything, all the ducks in a row, and when we're ready to reactivate the license, we just pay for it.
Great.
Cool.
Any other questions? Have a motion?
I can make a motion to approve the liquor license application for Mad River Exchange.
Is there a second?
And I'm second, it doesn't matter.
Okay. It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous?
Dave Babbitt Klein said aye.
Yes, he did.
He did.
Yeah, I'm just.
Well, thank you, Karen, and good luck.
Okay,
Oh, very
thank you very much.
Karen.
Next item is application for tobacco substitute endorsement license for Village Grocery.
That was me.
Great. You want to join us?
I can come to the table if you'd like.
If you're comfortable there, that's fine too.
No, I'm good.
I think it'll probably be easier for the mic to pick him up.
That's fine.
From there too.
So, I was talking to York earlier today. I don't remember seeing many of these. We get liquor licenses all the time. Is this just a license to sell tobacco products?
No, there's a license to sell vapor products.
Vape.
Yeah.
So every gas station, convenience store in town has it, or should have it. This is a renewal. I don't know if it's
Okay.
Yeah.
marked as that. I noticed on the minutes it wasn't marked as a renewal when
Oh,
we
I
got
see.
them.
Yeah.
But we sat here last year and got
Yeah,
this
it
license.
says first renewal.
Yeah,
And it's the
okay.
same policy that we have with liquor licenses.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't, when I saw it today, it wasn't marked as a renewal, it said first license, so I was
No, I
nervous.
apologize if that was a mistake.
But yeah, it's just to sell vapor
Yeah.
nicotine products.
And are the rules for that any different than regular tobacco product in terms of like minors and things
No,
like that? It's all the same-
21,
Same thing.
behind the counter, it's all pretty clear cut,
Yeah.
falls in the same category as all tobacco product, all lottery product, all alcohol product, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you had any issues?
I mean, I had one thief of an employee that we kiboshed pretty quick. But other than that, no.
Any questions? No, we have a motion?
I would move renew their application for tobacco.
Second?
Substitute, tobacco substitute, yeah, well, second.
That's right.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 It's unanimous.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Fun.
Have a great night.
You got to hear about the budget for free tonight.
I'm gonna pass on that, because honestly, it's just gonna get me bad.
Thanks, Tim.
Town meeting debrief and approved minutes from town meeting 2025. It's a little issue in the agenda that says town meeting 2024 debrief, which is probably what it said last year.
Yeah, I guess so. I apologize. Another mistake.
So, any thoughts? Josh, I thought your presentation was really good,
Oh.
well received.
Superb,
Thank you.
superb.
Yeah, I heard quite a few compliments that it was like just really clear.
There were some compliments on the inclusion of photos also,
that's
that it was more colorful and visually appealing.
I mean, what's more important, what Chalk said or what we saw?
I feel like it sets a
I'm a
tone.
visual.
I got to recuse myself from that.
And you're not allowed to sit here, actually, according to the rules.
I got to leave.
I mean, one thing that I have talked to York about, it wasn't a great turnout. It seems like when there's less conflict, there's less turnout, which is understandable, and I'm not suggesting necessarily that we put conflict on the agenda, but we really ought to, maybe there's other folks who might want to help. I've heard of other towns recently who really did a real aggressive outreach to try to encourage people to explain the value in it and what it is, provide childcare, provide, we don't have the lunch anymore, which is a bummer. But
Which we ought to talk to the church about that.
yeah, and maybe
Because I
we
think
at
some of
least
the
have like
other
a
town
donuts or
meetings,
something.
some of the other town meetings here in the valley did potlucks and things like that.
Yeah.
And it enhances it. Have food, they will come.
Well, when we had the school meeting at 1, we knew we were gonna come back, so we had to be there. And
Yeah.
although we went just about to noon this time, so.
The way that, because town meeting was a curiosity to me moving here, and I talked to Josh Schwartz about it. And the way that he described it, it was the thing that stuck in my mind was that people go and they disagree with each other, but then they go and break bread together as a community, and that there's something really
Yeah.
fantastic about that final step of it is that yes, maybe there is contention, but you go and you break bread with your neighbors, and it's okay.
It becomes more social.
Yeah. So totally agree on like how do we get more people there, and seconding that the recurring visitors aren't going to be visiting too much longer because they're all really old, and I don't say that to be funny. It's like how do we get the
Who's looking at everyone?
newer members of our community in particular to just understand what town meeting is and show up. Josh probably talked to many of us, but he said the Warren meeting, they moved to the evening to see if that would help, and they're getting about the same attendance.
We did that
are.
one year.
So
Yeah.
it didn't seem like
And it
that was
The same people showed up.
necessarily the
Yeah.
issue. To me, it's, I think we could do a better job at the outreach.
Yeah.
And be more engaging of particularly folks newer to the community, just to put the word out of this is what it is and this is why it's important.
And yeah, this is why you should care.
What you'll learn.
Bethel did that in Bristol, and went through the schools to try to really encourage families who often, because of childcare or whatever, might not come and they provided childcare. They do theirs at the evening, and they lined up some food trucks to be out front. So working with the church maybe to have some kind of meal would be
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
The other-
We've done childcare before in the past.
And now,
I don't know what stopped.
there's someone in the PTA that's very interested in doing childcare next year, and she's adamant it's going to happen. So that's the person that's signed up, I think, unofficially / officially for the reimagining of town meeting in 2026.
I think it's also probably worth acknowledging that, being able to either have that time off of work
Yeah.
or being able to take the time off of work, or, that is a bit of a privilege, and
Yeah.
Sure.
yeah, anything that we can do to make it easier for people to be there and attend. I think
The
it's generally
first
a good
town
thing.
meeting I went to, I was probably 8 or 10 years old. My father brought me to the town meeting, and it was in the Odd Fellows Hall with big wood stoves for heat.
Nice.
And that really had an impression on me as a boy, 10-year-old. Maybe we ought to encourage people to bring their
I'm
10, 12-year-old.
Pretty sure that
You know,
some kids were there. Weren't your kids there, Dave?
Yeah, my 8 and 5-year-old. were both
Excellent.
there.
Maybe.
They made it through the budget vote.
It's pretty good. Chotch kept their attention.
There you go.
But maybe encourage families to attend,
Yeah.
get the children involved at a younger age, and pay dividends down the road. But
Yeah. One idea, not mine, I think also from Josh, was doing a breakfast instead of a lunch, and kind of like a muffins or pies or something easy that's...
Or donuts. We have so many people who make donuts and
Yeah,
bagels.
but something that's easy, doesn't require a ton of prep, but would give us a little bit of social time, like if the meeting started at 9:30.
Or
we
10,
could do-
if we have a 2-hour meeting, we could do it at 10 and have a breakfast at 9.
Yeah, exactly. So that might be a good way to get
I mean,
folks to-
if my partner came to town meeting and there was no coffee, she'd be like, why would anybody ever come to this? And I'm not joking. She would and she runs meetings like this all the time. Like, it's the number one thing. She's like, I gotta get coffee before my meeting, like, the big jugs of coffee.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think, well, whatever I can do to help is great. But then I'm just calling it reimagining town meeting. But as we get closer, I do think, I don't know, like a steering committee or something to come up with a few ideas. Because I agree, community engagement is going to be one of the most important parts. And then and how do we incentivize them?
Yeah, yeah. Also feels like we have, as a town, as a select board, we have very few opportunities to kind of tell people what we're up to and get the word out. And I think the budget presentation was a start in that direction, just to be more open with that. But there's, like the Irisville master plan, there's like a lot of big stuff. Wastewater, it wasn't, and this is on me, if anybody, there wasn't a mention of wastewater in the whole meeting. There's an opportunity, if we took the time to bring more people in, to have short, we could do 10 minutes on Irisville, 10 minutes on wastewater, 10 minutes on infrastructure, on whatever, that would just, I think, get the community thinking about what the opportunities are and
What do you think about, like, when you go to a conference and there's like the posters, like, and everyone has a big poster, and like you walk around and people tell you about the poster. I wonder, it's similar to that. I wonder if something like that could happen. Like wastewater has a big poster, and then you can like work around as you're eating breakfast or lunch, and you're like, oh, what about wastewater? And then it's like one-on-one and a little more, just as another.
Yeah, well, I think if you did a breakfast hour or something, and you're in that big space with plenty of room for tables essentially around the perimeter, you have an election going on in one side, so we probably have to be cognizant of that, but
you had a wastewater report.
not this year, last
You
year.
did? Last year you had.
Well, we had it in our select board report.
Yeah,
We
that's
didn't
true.
It was,
discuss
okay.
it.
Well, maybe
Nobody
next
asked about
year,
it.
a separate
Right,
report just for wastewater.
yeah.
And that would generate an opportunity to discuss it.
But I think having a sort of town meeting steering committee, so there are a couple of people trying to get the word out, or that kind of thing. Sounds good to me.
I was part of that early when I was moderator, when we had a petition to go to Australian ballot. A group got together and talked about how do we get more vote out. And we did childcare that year, and we still had a lunch, and I think had a little bit better turnout because people did outreach. But it just went back to same old after that.
Yeah, I'm saying it was kind of a COVID break, right?
Yeah.
where-
Yeah, it was.
My first town meeting was a COVID town meeting, so it was
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
Strange.
so it almost feels like needing to rebuild
Yeah.
rebuild the awareness and interest for, again, newer folks that may have been here 5 or 6 years, but just never really been on their radar because it wasn't happening when they first got here.
Yeah, Middlesex has a very active town meeting committee. Their moderator is a woman, it's a colleague of mine who's written a couple books on democracy and town meeting. And I co-authored them with Frank Bryan, a UVM political scientist. So she could probably, she has been free with advice in the past about how to really do
Best
outreach.
practices, yeah. Nifty.
Any other?
Cool.
Do you want a timeline for when you want to start talking about this in
Let's
this
do it
coming
on our
year?
work plan.
Do the work, okay. Well, why don't, yeah, okay.
That's great.
I mean, I don't think it's,
No, I mean,
we've got 11 and a half months.
yeah, that's why I said timeline. Do you want to talk January or November?
Probably early, like November,
Okay.
I would think. Start doing, or maybe, the end of the year after Christmas when people re-engage.
We still doing fallout?
Was that?
We still doing town meeting fallout?
Yeah.
Something that was brought up that I think is valid, and it's a complaint of mine, and that is the road from Route 100 to the post office. You know, it is private, but I think it might be worthwhile for this board to have a letter drafted to send to the owners explaining how poor that road is, that it is used to the post office, that town people are complaining about it in town meeting, it's becoming a local issue.
In York's
I saw
memo,
that.
he mentioned
Yeah.
some disabled person who was not able to access.
Yeah, so I'd like to suggest that,
Which gives it a compliance with American
yeah,
Disabilities Act.
yeah, it's just,
So
And that-
I talked to Charlie Goodman at the town meeting, after town meeting,
Yeah.
and he said that when he gets the numbers from Pike about what it would be to tie that to the East Warren Road and do that this summer, the slow road, that we should go to he suggested going to the owner, saying, look, we're gonna be setting up here, we've got Pike here, doing our road, this is the time to do it, and you'll probably save a lot of money if you do it, coordinate with us.
let's write a letter to them,
Yeah,
to the owners.
yeah, I was hoping that Charlie would get some numbers first, so
Okay.
as soon as he does that, we should do that, reach out to him.
Yes, I'd like, yes.
And it has changed ownership lately.
And I think actually Jen forwarded that.
Cross Point or whatever?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Crosspoint has sold, they sold it to somebody else, so new owners as of a
Who are
couple months
local.
ago. Who are local, I think.
Recently local.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Jen forwarded that ADA compliance email to the new owners
Okay.
and copied me, and I don't think we've heard back. But yeah, and Josh actually, our road foreman, he kind of knows the person that owns Mahirons. I guess it's a different person.
Yeah.
That road, which is pretty bad also. And he said he may just talk to the person and see if they would be interested in talking to Pike and see what a bid would be at the same time also.
Yeah, their property managers are up in Stowe.
Okay.
Who?
That might be who he said he was gonna talk to.
Yeah, probably. They're always the front person, point people. Yeah, they're all bad,
It's remarkable.
except for Shaw's.
That's true.
But they just redid
They
that,
just did it,
just
yeah.
redid it.
Well, in front of Bisbee's and in there, they did that parking lot, but they never did the approaches on the north or south end of the, they did the actual parking lot, and why they didn't do the two approaches at the same time is beyond
I
my
mean, I think the
comprehension.
ADA compliance issue I think is gonna be the final straw. It would be my hope at least, just because it's
I can't
important for
imagine that they're
accessibility.
not, that they would let it get any worse. It's not, it would be.
That's what I thought 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's a new owner as of a couple months ago, right? So I feel like this is an opportunity for them to start on a positive note, potentially.
Let's help them by writing a letter.
Yes.
I have high hopes.
So, okay, so we'll, as soon as we get something from Charlie, we can follow up and reach out to you. Any other town meeting? Everything passed. That's the
Everything
most important
passed?
follow-up. I was surprised there wasn't more, what is this unassigned fund balance question?
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Well, York, do you have anything? You
No.
enjoyed town meeting?
I loved it.
Even though we
Great.
didn't feed you?
And there was no coffee?
You guys are crazy. It's okay. It's all going to be better next year. No, it was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Great. So the next item on the agenda is review appointments and reappointments to board committees.
All right, so basically, whether I have a check mark, those are people that responded yes. There's only one no. There's one that says most likely yes.
How many have you got there?
I didn't count. Several.
I think also there are a couple of folks who are no longer on, like the
Yeah,
General
I
White
was
House
going
Commission.
to, I found over a dozen errors or omissions. I would.
Wait, what are we talking about? Oh, oh, we didn't pass the town. You mean the minutes? Oh, yeah.
No.
Did you-
No,
did you
no,
pass-
no, no.
No.
I'm talking about the appointed officer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's what
But
we
it's
were
good.
discussing.
Good. What's the
But you're-
sequence? Do we need to do the
Yeah,
minutes
Yeah,
we need to
first?
do the
approve the town
minutes.
minutes was next. I'm sorry, Fred. That's why I thought you said, no, you're right.
So
You're
who are
right.
you, what are you seeing, Fred? What omissions are you talking about?
So,
I found at least a dozen
Oh,
So-
oh,
Dozen.
A dozen what?
errors or omissions in the appointed officer listing that was emailed to us. And I was going to suggest tabling it for now and letting me work with York and bringing an updated copy next month.
That's a good idea.
can I also just, oh,
Yeah, no.
Sorry, going
I
back
just
to item
wonder what the
7.
errors are because I cross-checked. That's the, I don't know. So I'll be interested to see. That's fine.
Yeah.
there was a second half of item 7, which was approve the minutes from town meeting 25. And I didn't know if we'd had a chance to do that yet.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That's-
I
I got it.
that a slightly different bullet point.
That's right, that, I caused the confusion.
Yeah, that was
So-
my fault. Sorry, Fred.
So, we'll go back to that. We'll table this until the next meeting. I'm not seeing that many,
I counted a dozen.
and I'm wondering whether or not, if we had cross lists. Is this the same list?
This is the
The
same
only
list, yeah.
that's
I mean, it should be. Unless I did formatting error, like the formatting.
No, it's names, individuals.
Oh, let me see. Maybe.
Okay.
Missing, there's missing appointed officers, there's appointed officers in here that have resigned during the course of the year or have died.
Well, we're not ready for this.
All right, yeah, I
Let me-
apologize.
That's
That's
not a
that's my fault.
No, no, what-
But yeah, Fred, if
There's
we
no
get
way
together,
you-
that'd be
No way
great.
you could know.
If we get together, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'd be
And
glad.
I did, in talking with Josh Schwartz about the planning district, I did note that we didn't make appointments until the end of March last year. So we didn't do it right after town meeting, it was fine, and people carried on. I do want to, I do want to make one exception. And Robin Morris definitely does not want to be reappointed. However,
I missed that one.
I would like, suggest that we appoint him for a term of 1 week, so we have a quorum and he can show up at our Water Commission meeting on Friday and meet with York and really help with the transition of that committee. I don't know whether we really need to appoint him for a week. He'll be there one way or another, and I think we have a quorum, but, so.
Well, it'd be easy enough.
all right, I'll
I
take a motion.
would make a motion to appoint Robin Morris as for the Water Commission, Chair for the Water Commission.
Okay.
For 1 week.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Yes.
And I is silly. and-
For a period of 1 week?
Yes.
Okay.
Or until duly relieved.
He will resign if we appoint him for the whole term, so
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good.
It was unanimous. Oh, and then Brian, I don't know if this one's important, because Jonathan brought this up. He didn't know if you were going to stay on with that, and I don't know if that would wait.
I actually, I was going to do a little outreach about that. My hope,
Okay.
having taken on the role of chair is not to be the select board representative to the planning district, but I don't want to put anybody on the spot. Might be doing some outreach. So, okay, so let's go back to item 7. And do we have a motion on the minutes for the 2025 town meeting?
I would move approval of the minutes of the town meeting 2025.
Second?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous.
Great.
And then this would be, I guess you guys usually approve this and sign it. Jen printed one off that says approved by select board on, so
I don't remember doing that, to be
Okay,
honest with you.
maybe I'll
I
just
always
date it.
thought that the moderator did it, because I used to review the minutes, but whatever Jen knows, she's our election official.
Yeah, she, I would defer to her on that.
Okay,
Thanks for pulling those together. That's a lot of,
No, it wasn't me at all, but it was like a group of 3 or 4 of them that like emailed, like there must have been 50 emails.
it's hard to keep track of who's making
Yeah.
motions in seconds and.
It was a group effort,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think there's one place where they weren't sure who seconded the motion.
My bet is if you named a name,
Was it not, is it not in this that it didn't say it? Because I think the final one.
Oh, did the final, this, I didn't get the final one. That's I'm
Well,
sorry.
I don't know.
so you were in that group, Larissa, who was trying to figure out?
No. And actually the place that was blank before is, I wasn't looking at the correct draft. That was on me.
So that's good. I'm glad
So
they're
we
complete.
voted. We have a motion, a second? We did vote, okay.
We did vote.
So item 9, we're tabling the appointments to the next meeting. Discuss and consider authorization for the purchase of a road crew truck. There is a spec and a bid in the packet. That's for the purchase of the truck. It would require about another $25,000 to $30,000 to outfit it. That doesn't need to be, we anticipate we're gonna have to do that. We don't need to make that decision tonight. And we can wait and see what finances look like at the end of the year and what our unassigned balance is. But as we discussed, the goal was to spend down some of the unassigned balance with capital facilities investments, which will put us ahead on our capital budget. And I think give us, if we need a little time to build up reserves for future equipment reserves, this will
I think frankly
help us with that.
the cost of vehicles and the materials that are required to outfit it are not going to get cheaper, would be my guess.
I actually talked to Josh about if we can pay for this ASAP.
That's my inclination would be to say that it would be in the taxpayer's best interest to do it sooner rather than later, because I think it's only going to get more expensive.
Well, Josh
longer we
isn't
wait.
stalling for anyone. He's ready for this truck now.
I'm sure he is. Of course he
He
is.
texted me Wednesday morning asking if the town meeting authorized the truck. And I said, no, we didn't put it to the town meeting. We're good. We have that authority, so.
This is from Stone Motors in Middlebury.
yeah.
We're buying a tradesman pickup.
And it doesn't need to go out for bid because the state basically already does that for us.
Well, I was going to say, I bought a truck last week from Stone Motors, tradesman.
Really?
Yeah, did you get a good deal?
No. I would
Strike
always
that
say
on the
that. I would always say that because they're so expensive. But I have nothing. I just make the comment.
This is a
I
big
have
truck.
nothing.
I think this is going to be a dually. Like,
Yeah.
you know, 6
Yeah.
wheels. And
This is a 1-ton.
Yeah, and just for, I think, as we've discussed before, but if anybody's listening in, going to a fourth road crew and taking over all of the summer mowing and the winter plowing, they're hauling around that new machine quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they need the extra vehicle for
Yeah.
staff. So, any questions or discussion about this? Motion?
Literate. I'd make a motion to authorize purchase of the new truck for the road crew.
Second?
Second.
Fred? No other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Dave?
It's unanimous.
Yep.
Yes.
10 consent agenda.
Right, so we can get back to the agenda. So we pulled the commission vacancies and term limits, and just to make sure everyone is aware, the assistant treasurer contract extension, Sandy would like that. Steve would like to make sure that she's still available to help. This would take her to the end of the fiscal year. So, any objections to the consent agenda?
And sorry, is that at the rate that she was getting before? It's just a,
Yes,
okay,
there she is. And the contract is in the packet.
okay.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember what.
She basically asked for us to do this.
Yes.
So that's what we did.
Yeah, I think it's
Sorry.
awesome.
We are so
We
fortunate.
didn't go far enough last time and we paid for it. Like Sandy pulled back sooner with the
than-
former
yeah.
treasurer.
But she did want an end date.
Yes.
And the last one did not have an end date, and now this does have an end date of the end of this fiscal year.
She's had end dates before.
No, she knows she's not going anywhere.
Great.
If I said no objection, consent agenda's good.
Sounds good.
Select Board Roundtable. Brett, you want to start?
I may be good. I may have already covered it all. Thank you.
Oh, you wanted to talk about the post office?
I want to talk about the road, yes, and the route to the post office, yes.
Do you have anything else?
No.
Larissa?
I wanted to say, hi, Dave, welcome.
Yeah, I apologize, Dave. I should have started the meeting with welcome instead of just you're here or whatever. South California.
All good, we did it at the election.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, thanks.
So part of our weekly agenda is just to make sure that there's anything on anybody's mind, or they've had, a contact with a citizen, or heard a complaint or a compliment. We just have an opportunity to bring it up. That might not be in the agenda. It typically doesn't require action. It's just sharing information.
Great.
Judge, anything?
I should have checked this, but is the town report up on the website?
I don't know.
The
Typically,
digital version.
I mean, I didn't put it up. If it's supposed to be, I'm happy to do that.
It wasn't before the
I mean,
meeting, and typically we do, right?
Yeah.
To me, we should definitely get information that,
Where do you usually like it to be? Where is it? I mean, I can
Usually,
figure it
the
out.
town reports are typically on the town clerk's page.
Okay. I'll work on that tomorrow.
I think there's a place where previous years are
Yeah.
posted, and you
Yeah,
can
that
just
makes sense.
tack it on. Is anyone checking this select board email address?
I do, I haven't.
I was gonna say, I haven't been, I definitely was like, I did the thing I meant to do. But if we need to be forwarding things to York, I just wanted to
Yes,
make sure that.
it's a good reminder.
And also, I think probably at some point going through and making sure that we change places where it says to, email the select board I can go through the website and pin those places.
oh, that's a good thought, just with all the board makeup has all changed. That would
Yeah.
probably need to all get updated on the town's website too.
Yeah, I was waiting till tonight.
Yeah. Cool.
I actually, who was voted, you were voted chair, who was voted vice chair?
Larissa.
Okay, so I'll update that tomorrow.
Great. Great. Town administrator report?
We've gone through just about everything. So thanks, you made everything really easy. The General Weight House, I've been going to that meeting, which has been great. I and some on the commission, the General Weight House Commission, are going Wednesday to meet with most of the tenants to go through and kind of make the maintenance list a little more thorough. Just because the last meeting, Ira mentioned several things that were broken and nobody knew about it. So that was our remedy for that. I'll also add that I talked to Misha last week, and he Misha, he really likes the community aspect of what the General Way House has to offer, and wishes that people were there more, and just about accessibility to the space. So one, I'm going to plan on working there at least a few hours every week. And moving forward, we've started the process to figure out a form, which the commission's been working on, the General Way House Commission.
And
also
that passed it.
And it passed. And it passed, but also for this space and the fields, but making a really easy, good way to put it up on the website with a calendar and with forms so that we can make it accessible. So I think the General Way House Commission's making really big strides, and I think that's exciting.
A few weeks ago, I think in preparation for town meeting, I was on the Moortown webpage, and they have a calendar for their town hall, which they lease out to residents. So it might be, I don't know if it's a good example, but it's an example.
No, it's good. I haven't started looking for examples yet.
I love the idea of you doing some of your office hours in the White House, so that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate what Misha said. I'm the same. He's like, it's nice when, Zoom, I don't want to do Zoom. And he's like, I just want to go knock on someone's door. And even if I just need to lean on someone about what's going on in my personal life. And I think that's awesome.
I like the idea of having the calendar on the town website so we can see who is
Exactly.
scheduled to use what.
Yeah, whether I can figure that out, we'll see. That might be something we need our website builder to help with.
Unless there's objections, I would tell you to go do it. If you need help,
I'll
get
start
it.
the process.
I think it's important.
Yeah.
I think sort of accessibility from a website perspective. I have an accessibility question about the White House itself, though. Is there actually? I don't think that there's a ramp to get from into the main house. Like
I'm glad you brought that up.
There's an elevator to get from the first floor to the second floor, which is, I think, ADA compliant. But I don't think. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
Okay.
There is a
We
ramp
have-
path, but I'm positive it does not meet
If I may,
ADA. Yeah.
3 meetings ago at the General White House Committee, Anne Marie has got a contractor scheduled for this next spring to put in an earthen ramp up to that front door. It's going to cost $1,000. I guess the question is, do this board need to approve the expenditure of that $1,000 from the reserve fund?
Correct me if I'm wrong, I was talking about this with Steve and Sandy the other day. At one point, we did authorize for,
Petty.
immediate repairs and improvements up to $1,000.
Up to $1,000.
So I think we've given that authorization. We'll ultimately approve it in the end. Does anybody else have any feelings about that? I know
Well-
that Gibb has done work there. I'm assuming he's bought materials.
They spent money. They replaced the toilet.
And as long as the receipts come through,
Yep.
it's all good.
Which is happening. But to do this one project is going to cost $1,000.
And that
So
is
we
ADA
need-
compliant, even though it's earthen.
Yeah. Wow. So I've been told.
It's fascinating.
I mean, Anne Marie knows the regulations and she got the contractor.
Yeah.
But we'll need to pull that out of the reserve fund. So I don't know if that's something.
So I have to go back and look at minutes. Do you remember that?
I remember that, but not, I didn't think that was tied to the reserve fund. I thought
We authorized the expenditure of $1,000.
Because we have an operating fund too.
yeah.
I think that the reserve fund does need, by law, has to come before the select board.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Okay.
thinking. So
Yeah.
maybe that's something we could have on the next agenda.
Sure.
The approval of a ADA ramp going to the,
I just want
Wait,
to ensure that it's ADA compliant.
I'll ask
because
Anne Marie.
I had, the office building that my organization I used to work with owned, had a wooden ramp, but it had an approach to it that was bare earth, and I was told that it didn't comply.
okay, I'll verify.
Yeah.
And we'll be meeting with Anne Marie Wednesday anyway.
Because that will also mean that you are eligible for grants that require ADA compliance.
Yep.
So for clarity, the $1,000 relates to the kind of the operating
Yes.
fund. The drawdown of the reserve funds would require select board approval.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm hoping we need to monitor if there's like a lot of $1,000 expenses, we'll drive it's not a huge operating fund. So,
It was meant for paint and nails and
Yeah.
light bulbs, and
and that's pretty much what it's been.
that's what Gip's been doing.
Yeah. And now we can probably put the ramp on the consent agenda since we've already talked about it.
Okay.
Oh, and we might have someone that Gib can work with. After town meeting, Richard Backus came and talked to Anne Marie and myself, and he'd like to donate some time to hammer and nail and change light bulbs.
Does he
Awesome.
Did he retire from?
Last January,
Okay.
he retired,
That's awesome.
stood down his business. He's an awesome contractor and even better a woodworker. He's a
It's exciting.
excellent woodworker. Yeah, so.
Yeah, and he's
Good.
right around the corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, the
Okay.
commission's doing some pretty exciting things.
And the White House is on the next agenda? Did Misha wanted to come?
Oh, yeah,
Did
yeah,
that
yeah.
as a follow-up to the
That's right,
letter
that'll
that
be on the
the
agenda.
tenant sent?
Well, he wanted to come for other reasons too, but yes, probably that letter too. He asked to be part of that agenda before he sent the letter.
Okay.
But,
But
and you guys all got that letter?
Correct.
Yes.
You can confirm with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Great. Anything else?
Wasn't in your report, but I think Fred, you said you wanted to talk about the reappraisal.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you,
that's-
thank you, thank you.
I
Yes.
pushed it to the next one just because I think when Brian and I talked, we were like, this is gonna be a little busier with new, but I'm happy to talk about it now.
My only thought is, we've been sort of putting it off, and this is like the second warning letter that we've got.
Did you see that we did receive a proposal? That the listers RFP did get a proposal? And
No, I guess I didn't.
that came out this afternoon from Charlie Goodman. And maybe it just went to you and me.
No, I got it.
Possibly.
Okay. But they don't think they can get the work done for another 4 years, 5
Yeah.
years?
But we've got 2 warnings from the state, and they're a little, the last one I read was a little ugly.
Yeah, but the state also realizes that this
But
is
should
not a
we-
Waitsfield issue, this is a Vermont issue.
Shouldn't we show good faith by
Yeah,
I think
getting on someone's list?
My understanding
Yeah.
is if we're moving forward, like getting these bids, and then we accept a bid, that the state's gonna be okay with it as long as we're moving forward.
Well, heretofore, we haven't been moving forward.
Right, and now we are, which is
Okay.
thanks to Charlie
Okay.
Goodman. and
Now,
everything.
I'm satisfied.
So
with the-
hopefully we might have a contract on the agenda in the
Okay,
near future.
that would be most excellent.
Okay. And I didn't look at the proposal yet, and I know we have about 115 or so in our reserve fund. But
More than that.
is it more than that?
Thankfully, yeah, we have 125 today, and I think another 10 at the end of 25 from the
Okay.
25 budget, another 10 in the 26 budget. So
Right.
we'll be,
I mean, the truth
Well
is,
reserved.
and you guys probably have heard about this too, but if the state takes it over, it may happen before this even happens.
Yeah.
David had a
Fine.
comment.
Yeah, Dave,
David, sorry.
Just a quick, so to clarify, we have our RFP out to all the recommended ones, or some of them that the state recommended?
Yes, I don't know how big a pool of contract appraisals it went to. The listers did do it. I'm pretty sure they tried to cast a pretty wide net. It's just, there's a massive backlog in Vermont now.
Yeah.
And it's just taking years to even get people to start doing the work.
And I'll add that Mary Jane
Yes.
and her husband, I think he said he would do it if we changed our whole systems to whatever the system would need to be.
Well, they're in business and can put in a proposal. Right.
And
I mean, the listers aren't in touch with him, so
I would assume
I
so.
would look to the listers for their advice on that.
Okay.
is the bid period still open? Like, are we hoping to get additional bids, or?
I don't know.
I don't know if I knew what the
Yeah,
date
I don't
was.
either.
I'm not sure he even sent that, actually.
We will have an update at the next meeting.
Okay, good, good.
But
Yeah, I was gonna say, short-term goal be to write a letter back and say where we're at to the state, or when we're at a certain spot.
I don't know.
So to demonstrate good faith
Yeah,
efforts.
probably if we take some act,
Well, especially if the last letter was kind of ugly, it probably merits a response, like heard, and we're
Acknowledged.
yeah.
I would say the letter was definitely serious.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're talking about cutting off funds and stuff, you know?
Yeah, I think anything that could potentially jeopardize.
It's sort of like the next, I got the impression that's like the next letter you aren't going to enjoy seeing.
Do you want me to check with Charlie Goodman about that reappraisal letter and see if he has circled back, or?
is he is there a chair of the listers? Is that Charlie?
I didn't bring my-
Charlie Goodman?
He's a relatively new appointee to listers.
It doesn't
Yeah.
say
Thank you.
on.
Yeah, Charlie
Is
Ted.
Charlie senior or junior?
Charlie Ted and Steve McKenna, I think.
Mackenzie?
McKinsey.
And it is
sorry.
Charlie the commissioner, not Charlie the third.
Oh, is it? No. Yeah.
No, it's
Charlie Goodman III.
Oh,
Oh, is that a different Charlie?
That is a different
it's
Charlie.
his son.
Yeah.
It's his son,
His father.
the builder.
I totally missed
Yeah,
My,
yeah.
That's helpful.
Well, we're just all figuring out everything today.
Good to
aren't
know.
we?
You didn't feel better about all my mistakes.
we're doing our best.
Yeah, I think Charlie Goodman
Yeah.
the third is he's a builder.
Yeah,
He's a
in the
contractor.
area,
He just
contractor,
work on my
builder.
barn. But
Charlie's son. Yeah.
I had heard that he might have left town to work somewhere else because he couldn't hire carpenters, but I don't know. Right. Okay.
Something for you to check into.
It might be a good idea to check with Ted Jocelyn, who has been a lister for longer than the rest of them, and he's an attorney.
Okay.
But honestly, it almost feels like, should that letter just come from us, the select board, or York?
Or the listers.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, like, if he's away and, like, we should respond sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think it should be somebody who we know is accessible, probably York.
Well, that's fine, but if it's okay, I'll check with Charlie and Ted and
Oh,
just
yeah.
make sure they haven't circled back with the state, because if they have, then that may
That would be redundant.
adapt what our response
Sure.
would be if we respond.
Yeah.
Does
But-
that sound okay?
But if in doubt,
Yeah.
That's fair.
Over communicate.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, anything else? As either of the reports?
Well, I'll
or-
just say, we definitely did get a lot of comments back, which we've talked about last time about the protests. I got an awesome email this weekend that I won't quote. Someone did come in today that works at one of the convenience stores that was pretty upset just because she thought it was a lot. She personally thought it was relatively disrespectful, but she also pointed out the cemetery, and she really would love it to be like, so the cemetery was kind of like a designated spot where you don't protest. And I was like, I feel like that sounds familiar, but I told her I'd come to the select board with it, but there's nothing we can do about it because, and I remember reading that Supreme Court case, I think it was 2014, there's nothing we can do about protests, cemeteries, or anywhere.
That wasn't specifically endorsed by the town or anything like that. That was people exercising their.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but I was like, I appreciate that. Like, respect cemetery. There's no sidewalk there, but that's not constitutionally legal.
I think they
Was it
can
down?
humbly request that people do that, but I don't think that they're legally required.
it's a town right, it's state right away.
State right away on the Route 100, yeah.
I think the only thing, if you guys wanted, and this may be the only time this ever happens in our lifetime, we could look into a type of permit for protests, but legally they're very limited. Just like if there's a lot of people, do you need to have an outhouse or, whatever. So.
Yeah. Given our list of high priorities,
I agree.
I don't expect we're gonna see a visit in the near future.
Yeah, I'd said I'd bring it up, and so,
And so you
I
did.
think it was worth, and I'm glad I looked into the cemetery and all that with protests today, so now we know.
As I told you today, I'm pretty sure the cemetery extends into the Route 100 right away.
That's, and that. That's awesome.
Anything else? So we don't have any executive session items tonight. No personnel issues. The legal issue that we dealt with, we are still waiting to hear back about, and no contracts under consideration. So I guess,
Move to adjourn?
yep.
So-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I.
Unanimous?
Thanks, Dave.